It has been said that democracy by design is messy, but so is a dirty diaper, and that's what we're bearing witness to in Congress this week, an absolute shit show. Hard to believe, isn't it, that Republicans, a party that exhorts hyper-individualism, a party that insists it's not about the common good, it's about what benefits me, it's not about what benefits my neighbor or the community, it's all about me, me, me. It is simply incomprehensible that Republicans, this ashen cluster of malignant narcissists, it is impossible for me to believe that they can't seem to come together as one and elect a speaker. Who would ever believe Republicans could be that hyper-individualistic? I mean, who would believe it? Who would believe that it's too heavy a lift for Republicans to find 218 votes to keep our government functioning? Well, I guess it was all inevitable. When a once somewhat respectable political party has been transformed into a coven of gun-toting survivalists who aren't about to share their underground prepper bunker with anyone. What we're witnessing right now in the Republican Party is a bunch of heavily armed end times doctrinaires refusing to share. They will not share their money or their power with anybody, including their own kind. But never forget this. The 20 or so members of Congress holding up this process are the heart and soul of the Republican Party. Every single member who is voting against Kevin McCarthy, they are the real Republicans. Those who are voting for McCarthy are in denial. They refuse to deal with the reality of what the Republican Party has become. Lauren Boebert is the Republican Party. Trump is the Republican Party. There is no longer room for anyone like Kevin McCarthy who pretends to be willing to compromise. There is no room for somebody who even pretends to compromise. Gone are the moderates. Marjorie Taylor Greene is now a power broker in Kevin McCarthy's new vision for the party. That's how far to the right McCarthy had to move to appear somewhat reasonable. Marjorie Taylor Greene is the Republican Party, not Kevin McCarthy. Here is the uncomfortable truth for anyone who voted for a Republican. The bedrock of the current Republican Party, the bedrock, are the true believers in the coming apocalypse. And they got elected to hasten the second coming, either of Jesus or Donald Trump, and I doubt they know the difference. Ask Matt Gaetz, Paul Gosar, Lauren Boebert, Andy Biggs, or Scott Perry, why are you blocking McCarthy's speakership? Ask them, what do you want? And their answer is this. What's happening right now, government at a complete standstill, this is what they want. They see this as end times for our government and soon the material world as we know it. And while I have nothing but contempt for and fear of these Republicans, I do admire their commitment. They know it only takes a handful of elected officials in Congress to shut things down. You can shut it all down unless you get your way. This power is in the hands of a couple of members of Congress. It would be nice if the squad, if the progressives, be nice if they took an occasional page from this playbook. These Republicans, these true believers, are willing to accept what Democrats on the left are too chicken shit, too frightened of. And that is a healthy dose of chaos and uncertainty. There is nothing wrong with chaos and uncertainty. But we don't see that in the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is terrified of chaos and uncertainty. We think of Republicans as the fascists. They are. But make no mistake, it is the Democrats, not the Republicans, who march in lockstep. And it is this chaos, this bitter infighting, that in the long run makes the Republicans stronger than the Democrats. Unity, the kind of unity we are witnessing on the Democratic side of the aisle, makes us weaker. What is the purpose of the unity behind Hakeem Jeffries right now? Even though he was getting more votes than McCarthy, there was still no way Jeffrey was ever going to get elected Speaker. So why did every single Democrat vote for Jeffries? Now is the time for the left, the progressives in the House, to tell corporate Democrats like Hakeem Jeffries, do not take me for granted. Now, Hakeem Jeffries is as bad, if not worse, than Nancy Pelosi. He's a corporate Democrat, and that's why he's in charge of the House. He doles out the Wall Street cash. He's from Brooklyn. He is antithetical. Brooklyn gets the money from Wall Street. He is antithetical to everything the Democratic Party used to be and should be, and yet not a single Democrat, not one progressive, not one Democrat in the House this week has the courage to stand up and nominate somebody else for Speaker. It's all symbolism. Every vote for Jeffries this week is symbolic. He's not going to be Speaker. And yet not a single Democrat was willing to send a symbolic message on behalf of the left. Not one. This is precisely why it would have been a disaster had Bernie Sanders been elected president in 2020. He would have been destroyed not by the GOP, but by the Democrats he caucuses with. The left does not have a bench in Washington, D.C., willing to stand up for progressive values. Even this week, the left couldn't even showboat, couldn't even pretend to stand up to Hakeem Jeffries. We can't even get the left to be performative. Now, I pray that the GOP splinters in two, but that won't do this country any good until the Democratic Party also splinters in two. Where are the progressives? Why is AOC or Pramila Jayapal voting for Hakeem Jeffries? Make a statement. So while I loathe the Freedom Caucus, these doctrinaires holding up the election for Speaker, I do respect their courage of conviction. They know they have nothing to lose because they know they have nothing to gain no matter who becomes Speaker. And it's time for Democrats on the left to figure that one out as well, because if Hakeem Jeffries becomes Speaker, the only Democrats who stand to gain are Hakeem Jeffries.